Alright, so within the next couple of minutes or so, I'm going to show you and explain to you what I believe to be the most persuasive, you know, form or technique or tactic, however you want to call it, in marketing and in persuasion in general. Now, in case you don't know me, quick introduction. My name is Vuk Stilkovic. I've been an online marketer for roughly half a decade. And yeah, and I kind of just make these YouTube videos showing you what I've learned. With that being said, the one thing I'm talking about, stories. Now, here's the thing. If you've been watching content like this, I predict that you have heard about stories before, and you have heard other marketers, business gurus, uh, I don't know, copywriters, whatever it may be, talking about stories and just saying how incredibly important and persuasive they are. But here's the thing. What I found to be true is that not many of them, or as a matter of fact, almost none of them, actually talk about why stories are so persuasive and how to actually write persuasive stories. Right, so here's why stories are so persuasive. Now, you need to believe that, or you need to not believe, but you need to understand that all marketing and all persuasion is about is beliefs, right? It's about beliefs. It's about making people believe things. I mean, just think about it. If you can make someone believe that buying your product was worth it, like that's pretty much all of the job done. Like marketing has done its job if you can make people believe that. Right. Right. But here's the thing. What even are beliefs? Like how does a belief form? Well, a belief forms through experience, right? To give you an example, a think of a high school or a high school guy likes another girl. So he goes up and talks to her, he asks her out, and gets rejected. Now, in that moment, what is going to happen internally is that based on this experience, this guy is going to look for a explanation as to why he got rejected. He might say, well, I have acne in my face, simply don't look good enough, or I don't know, maybe my breath doesn't smell that well, right? Which is then going to transition into a belief. So it goes from experience to belief. Now, here's the important thing, stories are nothing more than retold experiences. And the reason this is so much more persuasive than anything else is because you're not telling people what they should believe. You're not saying, hey, this is the way it is, this is what you should believe. Because, truth be told, people aren't stupid and people don't trust so easily. And people, especially, don't trust you because you're a business owner and they know you have an incentive to sell as much as you can of your products, obviously. But if you, instead of, telling them what they should believe in, you actually just told them a story, a retold experience, and let them come to a conclusion on their own. You tell me, what do you think? Which one of those two is more persuasive? Well, obviously, telling a story and letting them come to their own conclusion. And this is something which has been proven many times before. Just think about the medieval ages, which I know is kind of random, but think about medieval ages and fairy tales in specific. Now, the thing most people don't understand about fairy tales is that fairy tales weren't made to entertain kids, weren't primarily made for that. The primary goal of fairy tales was to teach kids what they should do, what they shouldn't do. That is why a lot of fairy tales, a lot of urban legends are about, kids going into the forest alone and, getting taken away by some creature or some entity, they get kidnapped and they never see their parents ever again. Now, that story or stories like that aren't made to entertain the kids, but to simply teach them that they shouldn't go into the forest alone without their parents. Right? Right. But instead, if the parents were just like, hey, don't go into the forest alone, like if you've ever encountered kids or if you've ever talked to kids, you probably know how that would have went. Well, like, why not? And why this? And maybe they say, okay, sure, but then they still end up going into the fucking forest. Right, right. But if you tell a story and you make them come to their own conclusions, they're way more likely to not go into the forest alone. And truth be told, the prospects you're talking to work the same way, right? Now, obviously, you're not going to talk about mythical creatures in your stories. You're going to talk about real life scenarios and then let them come to their own conclusion. Now, if you want to know how to do just that, tell stories which are not just entertaining, but actually persuasive, and let people come to the conclusion on their own and persuade themselves on why they should buy, go ahead and watch this video next, which is a full masterclass in marketing and selling, where I talked about just that.